Welcome to today's class of RFIC design. This is your lecture 3. We will continue from where we stopped in the previous class. So in previous class, we started looking at the concept of non-linearity and uh, we understood how to model a system mathematically, model a non-linear system with the help of this equation. And we also stated that we will be considering non-linearity up to third order. And with that, we performed a two-tone test. That is a test basically performed to understand non-linearity and later to characterize. So we have performed a two-tone test and we have written all the components coming as a result of non-linearity of any system. And this is up to third order. We observed that there are components coming at different frequencies apart from the fundamental or the desired signal frequency. So we have looked at the amplitude of those components, and later with one example, we saw how the different products appearing at the output of a nonlinear system affect or the significance of the components at the output of a nonlinear system and how it actually affects the fundamental component or the desired signal component. Till this point we discussed, and yeah, so in today's class we will continue. Now we will understand. Now by looking at this expression and the component, by looking at a nonlinear system and by looking at the various components, we understood that there are a lot of components coming at the output. So now we will see what are the effects of these components separately. So what is the problem if there are harmonic components appearing at the output? What is the problem if there are intermodulation terms coming up? Right, so we will deal with such things today. Today we'll look only at harmonics. Possible, I'll show how to see harmonic in the simulator also. Right. So we will start with the effects of nonlinearity. Maybe you may be wondering why we are looking at the effects of nonlinearity. So if you look at the spectrum, electromagnetic spectrum, especially the portion which is used for the communication, like we call it as the radio frequency part of the spectrum. So that portion is actually used for communication for various technologies, right? Because we know that there will be Bluetooth devices using some portion of the spectrum. There will be other different Wi-Fi will be using some other area, some other portion of the spectrum, like that. Now if you look at electromagnetic spectrum, every segment or every band within a spectrum is valuable, and there are government agencies that tightly regulate the use of bands, right? So probably you would have heard about a licensed and unlicensed part of the spectrum. So spectrum, like certain areas, certain bands of the spectrum are licensed and some are unlicensed bands. So if it is unlicensed, we have actually freedom to use that. If it is a licensed one, we have to get licensed to utilize or use that part of the spectrum. So there will be government agencies that regulates, and in US, so before starting this nonlinearity, so in US, I think you would have heard about FCC, which is Federal Communications Commission. So they are the regulatory body who regulates the spectrum in that particular country. Similarly, in India we have TRAI, which is Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, and this authority will have divided actually the entire India into different telecom zones, and they are the one who issue licenses for depending on the need and depending on the technology, right? So now why I'm bringing all this into picture is I'm just telling you the scenario why we are actually studying the effects of this non-linearity. Now, say for example, we are using a Bluetooth device, And if you look at Bluetooth device, it operates in this band, exactly speaking 2.402 gigahertz to 2.480 gigahertz. This is the band within which, within this band, I think you have almost 40 channels, right? So we can use one channel within this band, and this is allocated for this Bluetooth technology. This is for low power. We call this as BLE. Probably you would have seen these things in your communication subjects, or now in your broadband communication, right? Now these regulatory bodies usually test, and they ensure that none of the electronic gadgets utilizing any technology will not radiate any unwanted, or will not radiate electromagnetic waves excessively across the frequencies other than the desired frequency. So for example, if I use a Bluetooth device, um, uh, when we enable, or when we use a device, it should produce only spectra. It should produce electromagnetic wave that should fall within this band, particularly within that channel. That means we cannot, or a Bluetooth device cannot send a strong or a excessive intense radiation to some other band which is nearby. So nearby you'll be having different WLAN bands will be there, different bands will be there. So you are not supposed to do. And in order to ensure that the devices coming to the market um, are making sure that there are no unwanted radiations, devices have to undergo something called as EMC testing. We call this as electromagnetic compatibility testing, where they will find out if there are a large amount of interference. So if there are strong radiations coming out of, we call it as out of band interference, but that will be falling in some other some other band which is used for some other technology. Now if there are strong large amount of interference are that, then it will definitely disturb the other bands, or the signals, or the desired signals in the other band. So that is not permitted, and we have to follow that very strictly. So here, when I talk about nonlinearity, when I talk about nonlinearity, or when I talk about the components which are coming in, so we can understand in this way. Say you have a system. Now I'm looking for a linear system, right? And even though the devices are non-linear, so we can operate on the linear segments of the Cara, the non-linear Cara, that we know. Now say for example, your input signal is a sinusoidal signal of say of low of some amplitude. I'm not mentioning the amplitude. Now if I look at the spectrum of the sinusoidal wave, I know that, say if this is at frequency fc, then the spectrum will be something like this, right? Pure tones, one at fc and another one at minus fc. Now if this is giving to a linear system, what I can expect at the output is also a sine wave. And if the output is a sine wave, again the spectrum will have components at fc and minus fc, right? So this is true if your system is linear, right? Again, what I meant here is even though you have nonlinear devices within it, you will be working on the linear segment of this nonlinear Cara. So that purely depends on the magnitude of your input signal. So if your input signal amplitude is small enough, or if your input amplitude is small signal, definitely you will actually get a linear response. You will get a response where you will not have any other unwanted terms. Now say you are again working with the device, with a system, with a particular circuit. We know that, but even though we work on small non-linear segments of a non-linear Cara of a device, the device Cara is ultimately non-linear, in the sense your current will finally saturate for any device, because it cannot increase indefinitely. So in such case, if you are providing a input signal which is large enough, if it is large, or if you are increasing the amplitude of your input signal, and if that is giving to a system, then the system will not be able to operate in the linear segment of the graph. system will move away from the linear part. That means it will actually move towards the nonlinear part of the graph, and that result in your output signal. So even though you are providing an input signal, say with the frequency fc, with the pure tones at fc and minus fc, this is how you represent your spectrum. Because of this non-linearity, since your input signal is large, and since the system now is behaving as a non-linear system, you will end up with output waveform which is distorted. Right, now this is your non-linear system, or now your system is actually behaving as a non-linear system since we have increased your input signal, and now your output is actually, you can see that here your output is distorted. Now if you look at the spectrum of this distorted output, look, if you try to draw the spectrum of this distorted output, you will definitely see, so this is my axis, you will definitely see your desired signal component fc. Then because of this non-linearity, so till what order we are characterizing this system as non-linearity, you will have all the components what we discussed in the previous class. So you will have definitely fc, then you will have 2fc, you will have 3fc, all those components will be there. Then you will have f1 minus f2, sorry f okay, yeah. Now if you are looking only at the input signal as a single frequency, you will have these many number of terms, right? We will not look at the intermodulation, that we will see little later. Now what happened here, your input signal is a pure tone, but because of the nonlinearity of the system, your output got distorted, and that resulted in many other frequency components apart from your main signal component, right? So I hope you can relate with this, or if not, I'll just try to take up one example where we work with CS amplifier. So this is your CS amplifier where this is your V in and this is your V out. And if you look at the characters, so what I have drawn here, this is nothing but the transfer chara. This is V out versus V in, right? Now, if I look at the transfer chara of this this circuit, V in minus V out, the large signal chara, probably you remember that we will plot it not like this. Something like this, right? And you know, I hope you understand or you remember these things. And this is actually the region what we are interested, saturation region, right? So if you look at this, this part is in fact, we can actually see a straight line within this region. So that you can see the linear part of the transfer chara here, right? Now if you are applying an input signal, so I am trying to apply an input signal on a DC voltage here. Now if your input signal is if your input signal is within this linear graph, linear part of the graph, you can in fact you can expect an output which is also linear, or which also will preserve the shape. Your input signal shape will be preserved. Now if your input signal is large enough, let me use a different color. If my input signal is large enough, in the sense if your input signal is moving in this form, now what happens? Now your input signal is moving out of the linear part of the graph. So ultimately that will result in output, and that output will be definitely distorted in this form, because this is only after this point actually there is nothing here, there is limitation even from the power supply side. So what you will get is something like this. So this is what I meant here as distortion, and this basically comes because of the non-linearity of the system. Your device is non-linear and we are not working on the linear part of the graph. I hope till now what I have mentioned, what I explained is clear. Can I get some response?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. All right. So there are 55, and I hope yes. Thank you for the response. Right now, this is what is your distorted, or we call this as, if the shape is not preserved, we call this as distortion, and this is distortion in CS amplifier. Right. So similarly, even if you work with the differential amplifier, and if you look at the transfer carrier, there also you can see a linear segment. And if you are providing an input signal which is large or more than greater than the uh, li- uh, a larger signal, if it is given, it will definitely move out of the uh, linear segment. That will result in non-linearity. Now, what is happening here? So depending on the input signal, or if your input signal is large, your output signal is getting distorted, right? Or there is non because of, the system is becoming non-linear, behaving as a non-linear system. Now, as an RF engineer, so or as a circuit designer in general, when we design a system, we should know uh, what can be the limits of the input signal what I can give to a system. And in certain cases, if your input signal is more than what, if I'm applying a larger input signal also, we should know what will happen, or till what extent I can work with a larger value of input signal. So it is very clear that if your input signal is large, it is resulting in some components. Now we should study what are the effects of these components, these extra frequency components coming at the output. So if you look at this example, you can see that there are components appearing at 2fc, 3fc, and etc. Right. So now we will study what are the effect of this, and will it affect the signal, or will it affect the system as a whole in any way? Right. So what we will do is we will understand the effect of nonlinearity, and we will characterize nonlinearity. Generally, nonlinearity is characterized by certain performance metrics. So that if say for example you are asked to design a system, so the nonlinearity of the system. So for example, you may be given that you have to design an amplifier, but you have to make sure that the total harmonic distortion should not exceed beyond this level. Right. That means that total harmonic distortion is a parameter which is used to characterize a nonlinearity. Maybe I'll explain. I'm not without writing. I'm not telling so much. So let me start with uh, by listing out. So I have written here. We are discussing the effects of nonlinearity, and the very first effect what I'll be discussing now will be the effect of harmonics. Right. So probably from the previous discussion, you would have understood what is a harmonic. So I will write harmonic, or harmonics are uh, when the output of a system or output of a circuit exhibits frequency components that are integer multiples of input frequency. If output is having frequency components that comes at integer multiples of input frequency, such output components are generally called as harmonics. Right. Now, so we will be writing the polynomial and the equations what we have done before again and again for a better understanding. So we will try to understand this mathematically first. So if input is x of t and output is y of t, and say you have a system which is in fact a nonlinear system, right? Now, if I am applying a input signal a as a cos omega t, and if I assume non-linearity up to third order, I can characterize this system as alpha naught plus alpha 1 x of t, which is a cos omega t, plus alpha 2 x square t, which is a square cos square omega t, and alpha 3 x cube t, which is a cube cos cube omega t. And we have analyzed all these, and we know that this will give a lot of frequency components, but we will look only at fundamental and the harmonic components for the time. So I will write here again DC also, I'll just write. So the DC components are alpha naught plus alpha 2 a square by 2. That will come from, so DC offset components are generally come from the even order terms. Even order term is nothing but the square term. So alpha square alpha to a square by 2, and plus you will have alpha 1a into cos omega t, and also you will have one more component which will give the fundamental frequency whose amplitude is 3 by 4 alpha 3 a cube. So this is your cos omega t component, which is a desired component. And now if I look at the harmonic, so if you are writing a nonlinearity up to third order, you will get second harmonic and third harmonic. So I can write it as a2 a square, sorry, alpha to a square by 2 cos 2 omega t, and you will have alpha 3 a cube by 4 cos 3 omega t, plus etc. if you extend this nonlinearity up to any higher order, right? So again I'm telling, apart from this there are some other components also that we will not look at for the time being. So this is clear, this is DC offset, right? And this is the this is your fundamental component, or the desired component at the output, right? And that means whatever amplitude here you have or whatever coefficient you have here is actually in fact the gain. Now since the next one, the next two components, since this is appearing at 2 omega, we call this as second harmonic, and since this appear at 3 omega, we call this as third harmonic. I'll pause for discussion. I'll just finish this and I'll take questions now, right? So so if you look at this, if you look at the polynomial, and if you look at the products what I have written here, we can actually observe certain things, right? So I'll make certain observations now. My first observation is even order terms will result in even harmonics, right? Even order term is nothing but x square term. Similarly, odd order terms will result in odd harmonics. This is my first observation, right? Because your second harmonic 2 omega component has come from x square term, and 3 omega component has come from your x cube term. Now, if I look at the magnitude of the harmonic component, say I will use a different color here. So this is your second harmonic, and if you look at the magnitude of the second harmonic component, that is related to input as a square. Definitely there is a coefficient alpha 2 by 2, but it is proportional. I can say it is proportional to, so your second harmonic is proportional to amplitude square. Now what about third harmonic? Third harmonic is actually proportional to amplitude cube, right? That means I'll write one more observation here, that is magnitude of second harmonic or third harmonic, or for that matter nth harmonic. So magnitude of nth harmonic grows roughly proportional to nth power of input amplitude. These are my observations from the polynomial expression, right? So nth harmonic magnitude is growing in proportional to the nth power of input amplitude. Now one more thing I can make out, as I mentioned, DC offsets are generally produced by even order nonlinearity. Maybe that we will see little later, right? Now yeah, so in general in RF circuits, as you have seen, there will be second, third, fourth harmonic, and higher order harmonics also will be there. Now in particular, So in general, in RF circuits, if the circuit is a part of a narrowband system, or if the circuit itself is a narrowband system, then this harmonics are okay. Just before that, 1 second, before concluding that, so we observed that there are a lot of harmonics. Now, as I mentioned, we need to characterize this nonlinearity. We need to characterize this nonlinearity of harmonic, and for that we need certain performance metric. So generally, harmonics are characterized, or in order to characterize harmonic, we use a performance metric known as harmonic distortion. We call the performance metric as harmonic distortion. Right. So this harmonic distortion is actually defined as the ratio of amplitude of a particular harmonic to the amplitude of fundamental component. This is how we express harmonic distortion. That means if I want to write harmonic distortion of if I want to write the harmonic distortion associated with the second harmonic, I will express it as HD2, and HD2 can be written as a ratio of amplitude of that second harmonic. So what is the amplitude of second harmonic? Alpha 2 a square by 2. So it is alpha 2 a square by 2 so alpha 2 a square by 2 divided by amplitude of the fundamental component, which is alpha 1a plus 3 by 4 alpha 3 AQ. Right. This is your harmonic distortion 2. Similarly, I can write harmonic distortion 3 also. So there what I'll do is I'll write alpha 3 AQ by 4 divided by the same denominator alpha 1 a plus 3 by 4 alpha 3 AQ. So in general, we will not write separate harmonic distortions like HD to HD3, but in certain specific cases, we will certain times we will only look at certain harmonics. But in general, we will characterize using parameter, or we call this performance metric as total harmonic distortion. And this is this specification is something which we see in even the data sheet of if somebody is if we are designing an amplifier, definitely this total harmonic distortion will be mentioned. That is a very detailed spec. So how can it write total harmonic distortion? It is actually we will sum the power of all the harmonics, and we will normalize that to the that result to the power of the fundamental. So we will write total harmonic distortion as alpha 2 a square by 2. It is power, so we will express it as square, plus alpha 3 AQ by 4 the whole square, plus if you have further harmonics, we will write that divided by the power of fundamental, which is alpha 1a by 3 by 4 alpha 3 AQ the whole square. Right. So the total harmonic distortion is nothing but summing the power, summing up power of all harmonics and normalizing that result to the power of the fundamental component. Right. So this total harmonic distortion is a specification what we actually consider when we design an amplifier. Right. This is yeah. Now, now when you talk about RFIC or in RF circuits in general, if you are considering a narrowband system, if your system is a narrowband system, then definitely harmonics will not have much effect, because the system itself is narrowband, and since your harmonics are appearing at second, third, and like second, third, fourth multiples of your input signal frequency, that will definitely fall out of your band. This is true in the case of a narrowband system. So in RF circuits, generally this harmonic distortion or this total harmonic distortion is considered as an irrelevant indicator. Why it is irrelevant indicator? Because generally, since the harmonics appears at a higher frequency, that will not in turn affect a narrowband system. So harmonic distortion is an irrelevant indicator of the effect of nonlinearity. But this is very specific to narrowband systems. But in general, we have to consider harmonic. Before we dismiss harmonic, we should actually consider that and see the effect of harmonic. So before dismissing any harmonic component, we should see the effect, and then only we should dismiss a harmonic component. Right. Is this clear? What I can take few questions now. So we discussed about the effect of nonlinearity and nonlinear that effect we discussed about harmonics. Or while you understand, while you think over this particular topic, I can give you one simple numerical, and after giving this question, I can take your questions. Right. So just take down this question. I have an analog multiplier. So generally multiplier is used to mix two inputs. So it mixes its two inputs, and ideally what we expect is, okay, yeah, I got a Rakshak question. Your question is why for a narrowband systems harmonics are not considered. Yeah, the reason is, as I mentioned, when it's a narrowband, again that depends strictly on the bandwidth or the bandwidth of the system. Say for example, you have designed a narrowband amplifier around 2.4 gigahertz, and the bandwidth, the amplifier you can the bandwidth what an amplifier can take is say only 100 megahertz. This is not a very what to say, a practical example, but still I'm telling. So now the second harmonic of this amplifier will occur only at 4.8 gigahertz, right? Now if this amplifier itself is designed, or the bandwidth of the amplifier is only within this 100 megahertz, towards left and right in that sense, then your second harmonic will actually appear at a other frequency, which is definitely out of band, which is not coming within the band. That is what I meant by a narrow band system. I hope it is clear. If not, you can just ping Rakshak. I will clarify it. Right. So take the question. An analog multiplier mixes its two inputs, ideally producing. So the ideal output, what I'm expecting from this analog multiplier is, as I told, it is to mix two signals. So ideally y of t is k into x1 of t into x2 of t, where you can assume that this k is a constant which is given by which is the constant which is coming from the multiplier, or which is that is a property of the multiplier. Now assume that x1 of t is a signal a1 cos omega 1t, and x2 of t is another signal with amplitude a2 cos omega 2t. Now there are two questions for you. First question is, assume that mixer is ideal, and we know what is ideal output. It is k into x1 of t into x2 of t. If mixer is ideal, you are asked to find the output frequency components. Second question is, if the input port, so there are two inputs coming to this multiplier, so there are two ports and one for output. So the input port which is sensing the signal x2 of t, if that port suffer from nonlinearity, say suffer from third order nonlinearity, I'll write it will suffer from third order non. This is one example just to understand the effect of nonlinearity, especially harmonic. suffer from third order nonlinearity. Determine the output frequency components. So your first case is the ideal mixer output you can write, and the second one is it is suffering from non-linearity. So you can consider the non-linearity term also into your expression. So this is how we usually represent a multiplier. Input is written as x1 of t here. This is x2 of t, and this is your output, which is y of t. Right. So you can work on this while you solve. Uh, Frequency components are omega 1 plus omega 2 and omega 1 minus omega 2. Anirudh, I think you are right. Yeah, for the first part, yes, right. Raksha, can you just respond here in the chat box whether it is clear? Oh, Sridhar, yeah, your question is, sir, shouldn't it be root for whole for total harmonic distortion? Root for what? Okay, Raksha, clear. Yeah, Sridhar, I didn't get. Are you asking the expression that related to total harmonic distortion? I have just expressed as the ratio of the power of the harmonic and the ratio of the power and the fundamental. Root of squares of amplitude components, root of squares. Yeah, I expressed here power. Now, if you are expressing RMS value, yes, definitely it will be under root. If it is RMS value, yes. Okay. All right. Yeah. So I'll quickly discuss this, and then we will move to the simulation part. Right. So the first part is very clear. First part says that if the mixer is ideal, determine the output frequency component. So I can write the output frequency component for your first part as k into a1 a2 by 2, and you will have only two components, cos omega 1 plus omega 2 into t plus cos omega 1 minus omega 2 into t. This is your output for the first part. Now, for a second part, I need to consider non-linearity in the one port. In one of the port, I need to consider non-linearity. So what I will do is, I will write y of t first. So my y of t is same k a1 a2 by 2, that is common. Oh no, it's not directly product, right? So I will write it as k into k a1 cos omega t omega 1 t, right? So this is the characteristic of the multiplier k into x1 of t into x2 of t. So I have written k, x1 of t is a1 cos omega t or omega 1 t. Now x2 of t I should write by considering non-linearity. So I will write that as so third order non-linearity. So I'll write a2 cos omega 2t plus I'll take the consider the third order nonlinear term. So I'm omitting second order term. This is just for an example to understand how this will result in certain frequency components. So I'll consider a2 cube cos 3 omega 2t, and this is actually 4. Right. I hope you understood this. I have just replaced input signal x1 of t with a1 cos omega 1t, and x2 of t instead of writing it as a2 cos omega 2t, what I did in the previous example. Here I am considering third order nonlinear term. The harmonic component which is arising out of the third order nonlinearity I am considering. If you ask me why I am not considering other components, since we haven't discussed about the other components, I am just neglecting. So till now I assume that you know only about harmonics, right? Now if I expand this, that you can do, and probably I'll do it fast. K a1 a2 by 2 cos omega 1 plus omega 2 into t will be one term. Then you will again have k a1 a2 by 2 cos omega 1 minus omega 2 into t. Then you will have, so these two will come from the product of these two. Now from the product of k a1 cos omega 1t with the nonlinear term, you will have two more components. One is k alpha 3 a1 a2 cube by 8 into cos omega 1 plus 3 omega 2 into t plus cos omega 1 minus 3 omega 2 into t, right? So these are, so there are total 4 components at the output, and we know that in this, these two components, this component, this frequency component, and this, these two are actually unbounded components. Why unbounded? Because those are formed out of the nonlinearity, right? So what you can do is you can consider omega 1 as say some 100 mega and omega 2 as some say some 150 mega, and if you write the different products, omega 1 plus omega 2, omega 1 minus omega 2, omega 1 plus 3 omega 2, omega 1 minus 3 omega 2, you will end up with, say this is 250 mega, this is 50 mega, this is 550 mega, and this is 350 mega, right? So what we can infer from this is, so your actual frequency components are 100 mega and 150, and your expected, or the what I am expecting at the output of this multiplier is either the sum or the difference component. So depending on your need, you can actually filter and take out either sum or difference component. But now that filter design will become challenging, because you can see that out of the nonlinearity, which has because of the nonlinearity at the one of the port, you are actually getting a frequency term at 350 megahertz, which is close to 250 mega. And now designing a filter and removing this will be a tedious task, right? So just to explain, or just to understand the effect of nonlinearity, I have taken this very simple example. Right, I have taken only the amplitude of the harmonic component. I hope you understand this. If you have doubts, I can take questions. So today what we discussed is, we discussed only about harmonics. Now I will show you a simple simulation in on Cadence to see. So what we discussed in the beginning is, as we keep on increasing the amplitude of the input signal, definitely harmonic or nonlinear effects will be more and harmonics will be generated. So that I can show in a simulation. Meanwhile, if you have questions, you can actually ask.
Sir, I have a doubt, sir. In the numerical you just solved,
Okay.
sir, there you have considered only the third order term and not all the way from first to third.
Yes, yes.
Uh, is there a reason for that, sir?
No, that is what I told. No, my intention is, I can actually write all the terms. I just want to bring in only one nonlinear term and look at the products at the output. But we definitely, yeah, we can actually consider second order, third, any number of nonlinearity we can consider. Now if I do that, I will be definitely ending up with so many frequency components. So the aim or the objective behind looking at this specific example is to understand that a nonlinear effect, especially if you have an because of nonlinearity, what maybe I'll just present this. I have stopped presenting. Yeah. So because of nonlinearity, I have actually considered only, you can see here, I have considered only a harmonic component which is appearing out of the third order nonlinearity, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
since I have dealt with harmonics, I have just brought in that, and later what we have seen is this harmonic is in fact creating trouble in other ways also.
Okay, okay, yes, sir. Because it's near to the frequency.
Yeah, it is very, yeah, the harmonic is not directly, but because of that harmonic component which has come out of the nonlinearity, you are getting another frequency component at omega 1 minus 3 omega 2. That is becoming
Okay,
troublesome. Actually, that is creating, or that is giving me a challenge in designing a filter.
okay, okay.
All right.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Now you guys can hear me, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Now I'll be presenting you. Can you see the cadence screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. So don't worry about the circuit. In fact, I wanted to keep it as a black box, but I didn't get time actually to create a symbol and keep inside that. So the circuit is actually of an LNA, low noise amplifier. And if it is not clear, I can zoom in. I hope you can see the circuit, right? Yeah, so you forget about the circuit, forget about the transistors. You consider that this entire thing, what you can see, what I have marked now in this yellow box is actually, you assume that it is a black box. You don't know what is inside. And I want to take your attention to the two things. One on the input side, we have defined as a port 0, and the other one at the output side, we call it as port 1. So these are some specific components. We call it as port, which is available in Cadence Analog Library. So we use these ports actually to do several analysis, especially analysis related to RF. Even we will use port for the other analysis as well. So I'll just we can just see what is inside a port, what are the various things. Yeah, so this offers actually, we can enter a resistance value, we can enter a reactance value, we can provide a DC voltage, we can define the type of the source. So what I have taken is a sine wave, and we generally define a frequency and amplitude, or frequency and amplitude for your input signal. Right. So frequency name I have given as FRF1, and the frequency. I hope you remember, we will be using variables here, and later in the analog design environment window, we will actually give the numerical values what we want. Right. So this is FRF1. I have given the frequency value as FRF1 hertz. Now amplitude in dBm, I am giving it as PRF. So RF denotes the RF signal, and F denotes the frequency, and P denotes the power, which is in dBm. Right. So this is what is there inside a port. Again, if you're not if you did not get what a port is, you just neglect it. For the time being, our intention is just to see the harmonic components coming out of this black box, which is in fact an amplifier. Right. So what I will do here is I will actually launch an ADL. I think I already have launched it. Is there a lag in my video and audio?
No, sir.
Okay, I have, yeah, it is already launched. I hope you can see the screen. Yeah, again, I'll say don't worry about the analysis. I have kept certain analysis over here. So I have defined two frequencies, FRF1, which is 2.4 giga, and FRF2 is 2.44 giga, two frequencies. So in fact, with these two inputs, I can actually do a two-tone test. But for this example, what I'll be showing to you, I'll be doing only I'll be providing only FRF1 as the input signal, and I'll be showing the responses. Now on the right side in the analysis, I have enabled different analysis apart from DC analysis. This is your PSS analysis. We call it as periodic steady state analysis. Now the second one is HB, and this analysis we call it as harmonic balance analysis. Harmonic balance. So this HB analysis generally help us to find out a lot of things. And when we plot the result of this harmonic analysis, one thing what we will get is we will get to know the harmonic components. In fact, we know the harmonic components will come at second, third, and fourth, and such multiples of input frequency. This analysis will give you the amplitude of such components, and with that we can actually study. So what I'll do is I'll click on this harmonic balance analysis, and here I have I kept input as I'm keeping only one tone here, the frequency FRF1. I am looking, maybe I can look up to 10 harmonics, right? The other settings I am keeping it as default, right? So the analysis what I'll be looking now will be a harmonic balance analysis, right? Now I'll run the simulation. Yeah, there are other analysis kept. SP is not enabled. PSS is enabled. Right, so it may take some time. I think it is not. All right, I have done something over here. I enable both analysis. That's why it is taking a bit time. Yeah, I think, yeah, it's taking. Yeah, once the analysis is over, let me check whether it is over. I think it is over. Then what I'm, no. Yeah, no, what I'm doing is I'm going actually to, 1 second. Yes, it is done. Now I'll go to results and I'll go to direct plot to main form. And here the enabled analysis will come automatically. So I have taken responses before. Yeah, I'll enable HB and I'll go to power, and I'll be plotting the output from the port. I have used actually port at the output side. I want to see the spectrum, the output spectrum I want to see. And now what I have done is I have actually given the amplitude of your input sinusoid as minus 30 dBm, and I have done I am varying that amplitude from minus 30 to minus 5. That means minus 30 is the smallest the minus, you understand, right? When you move away from 0 dBm, the power in fact it is reducing. So minus 30 dBm is the smallest amplitude and minus 5 dBm is the largest amplitude. So as what we discussed now, as you keep on increasing your input amplitude, your non-linearity of the system or your system will be heavily non-linear, and that result in harmonics, and even the harmonic power also, the harmonic amplitude values also will actually increase. Now I will choose minus 30 as my input amplitude in dBm, and I am clicking on the output port, which will give me a window. And this window, are you guys with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I'll just make this extra thick and right now. Now what you're seeing is so this is your input frequency component. I have given the input amplitude as minus 30 dBm, and at the output I am getting the main signal component, which is appearing at 2.4 giga as somewhere around minus 9. Your amplitude is around very close to minus 8 or minus 9. That means there is some gain. This is in fact an amplifier which is providing some gain. But your output frequency, output amplitude, your output signal is not only a signal at 2.4 giga. Along with that component, you are having additional components that you can see lined up here. So now if I check the frequency of this is at 4.8, which is actually the second harmonic. Now this is at somewhere very close to 7.2. So 7.2 is it the third harmonic?
Yes, sir.
Yes, 7.2. And similarly, you can see that the fourth, fifth, and higher order harmonics, because I have selected 10 harmonics. I selected to display 10 harmonics. So starting from fundamental, I think this will be the 9th harmonic, right? Yeah. So starting from fundamental, you will have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, you have 10 products at the output. So this is plotted. So this is what this is how to see harmonic components associated with an amplifier. And now if you look at the input amplitude, input is minus 30. And if you look at the amplitude of the harmonic component, here this harmonic, your output signal is having an amplitude of minus 9 dBm, but your second harmonic is having an amplitude only of minus 59, which is very, very low. But still you have a component with some value of minus 59. Now, by directly going to results direct plot from main form. Again, I make sure that HB is there, power is enabled, and dBm. So instead of plotting the output harmonics for minus 30, I will actually take minus 5 as my minus 5 dBm as my input power, and then I will make sure that this is append, and then I'll go to the port and I'll select this port. So that is actually giving me an additional, giving me the harmonics at the output of the same amplifier when your input signal frequency, sorry, input power is minus 5 dBm. So I'll just change the color of this maybe to blue, and static, and I'll just split this into two graphs. Right. Now, so again, at minus 5 also you are getting components. All the 10 harmonics are presented, but you can see that. So here also, no, this is not your first harmonic, right? Yeah, your first, so your second harmonic, which is appearing at 4.8 giga. Previously, the output or the power of that harmonic was minus 59, but now when your input signal amplitude increased, even your output power coming for that particular harmonic has actually increased to minus 4 dBm. So I think you can actually visualize the nonlinear effect of the system. So as your signal amplitude is becoming larger, that is making your circuit heavily nonlinear, and that is resulting in strong harmonic components at the output of the system. Now, is it clear?
Sir, could you please repeat that last part, sir?
Yeah, so what I was telling is I have given two input signals, one with an amplitude of minus 30 dBm and another with an amplitude of minus 5 dBm. So comparing these two, this is actually a larger amplitude. Now, so what we can see here is, as you are providing, as your input signal amplitude becoming larger and larger, or if you are increasing your input signal amplitude, you are in fact you are making your system heavily nonlinear, because you are forcing your system to operate to the nonlinear part of the Cara. So that result in definitely that will result in harmonics, and your harmonic components are strong compared to the previous one.
Yes, sir. Got it, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sir, so in
Yes.
comparison with what we had studied in previous courses, the main cause of nonlinearity now is much larger signals, or is there anything else?
Can you come again?
Like yesterday also, I think a student mentioned that why are we considering nonlinearity only now? Like why not before in our AMC or AMS
Yeah,
courses?
true. Yes. Okay.
So like what is I just wanted to know the exact answer to that.
Yeah, so I hope I mentioned that even in the other class. So when you look for an amplifier, a specific amplifier which works on baseband or which works on lower frequency, yeah, so I can tell in two ways. So one is, if your input signal, if you have a larger control on the input signal which is coming into an amplifier. So a baseband amplifier which is sitting down the line in an RF transceiver will not have any unwanted components which is actually coming at the input, right? So in that way,
Okay.
yeah, so that is one thing. And the second thing is, when we talk about RF, we are actually dealing with power. Signal should be, the strength of the signal also matters. So if you are receiving a signal which is large enough, that in turn is enough to make your system or make your circuit non-linear.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, I hope I answered your question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. That's all for today's class. I'll stop recording and I can actually take few more questions.